Hey, Mia, I just want to say thank you again so much for inviting me around for a meal tonight. It's been so long since I've had a proper home-cooked meal rather than just, a grotty old takeaway, so it really is much appreciated. What are you cooking over there anyway? It smells lovely.
It's churba de legume. It's a local recipe.
Oh, fancy.
Normally, the only types of eggs you'd expect to find in a Resident Evil game would be the ones that some kind of slimy monster had laid inside your face. But during our playthrough of Resident Evil Village, we did manage to stumble across quite a large collection of, well, less cranially intrusive Easter eggs.
I'm Eurogamer's Ian Higton, and what follows are 17 Easter eggs and references that we found hidden beneath the gore-soaked remains of Resident Evil Village.
Be warned, however, that this list doesn't take too long to wander into spoiler territory, so advance past this point at your own peril.
Once you're a big girl, we'll have a drink together, all right?
A recurring theme in the early hours of Resident Evil Village is the presence of wine bottles. Right from the very start of the game, before even the whiffiest bit of lichen crap hits the fan, you'll be able to spot a huge amount of wine bottles strewn around the Winters' house.
And to be honest with you, if I'd have gone through even half of the crap that they went through in Louisiana, well, I'd have turned to the drink too. So let's not get too judgy, eh?
Anyway, the wine bottles scattered around the Winters home are all the same brand, Regina Rossi, and this name is Romanian for Red Queen. That gives us a bit of an early hint as to not only who made it, but also what the secret ingredient for that wine may be, because as you get further into the game, it becomes very clear that Regina Rossi is not only a locally produced wine, but it is made by Lady Dimitrescu herself using techniques that can be traced back as far as the 15th century. But what are those techniques, you may be wondering? Well, if it's not already blindingly obvious, it's basically just normal wine with added blood. Blood that is drained from Lady D's human victims in the dungeons of her castle. Not exactly sure what these chicks here are for, though. Is this bird blood a substitute because humans are hard to come by after the lichen attacks, or are they just a tasty treat to go with the wine?
It's hard to say, really, but either way, I think I'll stick to just peanuts and beer for now. It seems safer in the long run. Cheers!
The Resident Evil series may be very scary, but it also has a wicked sense of humour, as proven by this next Easter egg. Pinned to the Winters' fridge is a note from Mia to Ethan, detailing the food that Rose will be eating in the next few days. The joke here is hidden right at the end, where it says, "and no mushrooms." Mushrooms are a form of fungus, which in itself is a form of mould, and the mould was of course the superorganism from Resident Evil 7 that was the source of basically all the stomach-churning events of Louisiana.
Oh, crikey! That thing looked like something you'd find inside the fridge of my old university halls of residence. I'd still probably have tried to eat it if I was drunk, though.
While exploring the Winters' house at the very start of the game, keep an eye out for this little football mascot bobblehead.
Why do I even keep this around? I should get rid of it someday.
This is Mr. Everywhere, who was one of the three main collectible types in Resident Evil 7. He's not everywhere in Resident Evil Village, though. He's only found here, so make the most of him and the horrible memories that he brings back while you can.
Shame you can't shoot that one like you could do the others, though, because, oh boy, am I having some troubling flashbacks right now. Fuck!
This next one is pretty quick and not really that hard to miss, but if you check out this newspaper article found on the desk in the Winters' spare room, you'll be able to find out exactly how the powers that be covered up the catastrophic events of Resident Evil 7. According to this article, the whole thing was written off as a natural gas leak, which not only caused the deaths of the Baker family themselves, but also meant that the entire Dulvey area would be uninhabitable for at least 10 years.
Now, some people might say that that cover story seems a little bit unbelievable, but the gas leak I had after last weekend's very strong curry left my bathroom uninhabitable for about 1 to 2 days, so who knows?
The final Easter egg we found in the Winters' house is a cool little reference to a well-known family from the Resident Evil series that for once isn't the Bakers. Head to the bookcase in the side room with the stereo and search the shelves to find this book. It's called Gun Survivalist, a heavy firearms manual for field combat situations by Joseph Kendo. If you've played the original Resident Evil 2 or Resi 2 or Resi 3 remakes, you'll have met Joseph's brother, Robert Kendo, the unlucky owner of Kendo's gun shop in Raccoon City. Joseph, or Joe for short, served as a weapons instructor for STARS, and the Silver Ghost, the gun that Leon wields at the start of Resident Evil 4, was actually designed by Joe, and it's even engraved with his family surname. See that thing flashing on the wall there? Don't worry, it's not a glitch in the game, or even more worrying, a glitch in your eyes. That's actually a cheeky throwback to Resident Evil 4, the classic Resi game which served as a big inspiration for the events in Resident Evil Village. In Resi 4, you'll spot similar glints in the environment, which, when shot, will drop assorted treasures that you can then sell to the merchant later down the line. The process in Resident Evil Village is pretty much the same, although here the treasures you shoot down are mainly just crystals. You can sell any crystals you find to the Duke in order to pay for much needed gun upgrades, so just to make things crystal clear for you all,
shoot all the shinies you see to survive.
Another mechanic lifted straight out of Resident Evil 4's playbook is the ability to combine treasures with other treasures to make even more valuable treasures. Say treasures more. You can combine items in pretty much every Resident Evil game. It's a big part of the inventory management system. But Resident Evil 4 is the only other game in the series that allows you to do this with expensive items in order to sell them on for extra profit.
I've been waiting for you, Mr. Winters.
While we're on the subject of the Duke, by the way, if you're not aware, this super shopkeep is directly inspired by a similar character from Resident Evil 4, the much-memed merchant.
What are you selling?
If you've never heard of the merchant before, I'd be very surprised, but just in case you haven't, both characters inexplicably turn up in out-of-the-way places throughout the games they appear in, and they offer you their services in the form of trading. Still not sure that the Duke is a direct reference to the merchant though? Listen very carefully the next time you're shopping with him, and at some point you might be able to overhear him uttering the merchant's most famous of catchphrases.
What are you buying? Just something an old friend of mine used to say.
Classic. I wish I had friends though. Wonder what that feels like.
This next one isn't so much an Easter egg as it is a mysterious story wrapped inside a story, and it's a terrible tale that revolves around a necklace. This necklace, in fact. Now, you get this necklace by killing one of the many Mauritius found in the dungeons of Castle Domitresque, and by examining it, you can see that it once belonged to a woman named Ingrid, and it is used to ward off evil. This won't be the first time you hear the name Ingrid though, as, on your way to this point, you'll have passed a couple of notes that give her a bit of backstory. On the first note, you'll see a large list of names, all women, with 4 of them highlighted as candidates: Irina, Michaela, Lois and Ingrid. Then, on the next note, you can see that these 4 women have all been experimented on, with Ingrid being listed as unstable and overly alert at times. Going by the necklace and this info, we can come to the safe conclusion here that all the women who have been experimented on have become these Mauritius that roam the castle, and the one that we killed was indeed Ingrid herself. Or at least what was left of her. So, where did Ingrid come from anyway? Well, the truth to her origins lie in that necklace she left behind because, right near the start of the game, Ethan is ambushed by this shotgun-wielding villager, and if you look very closely at his neckline, you'll notice he's wearing an exact replica of Ingrid's animal bone necklace. So it's a good guess then that Lady D has been raiding the village for servants, and that this man is somehow related to Ingrid. Probably her father.
Whatever the truth, I'd be asking for my money back on those necklaces if I were those two, because they were absolutely rubbish at warding off evil.
This next Easter egg is a very clever reference to a version of Resident Evil 4 that was never actually released. During E3 2003, Capcom unveiled a demo of Resident Evil 4 known as the Hallucination Demo, or the Hookman Demo. This version of the game was canned due to technical limitations, but during this gameplay demo you can see Leon being attacked by creepy, knife-wielding living dolls during a period of hallucination. Which is exactly how the spooky doll maker Donna Beneviento attacks Ethan during her portion of the game.
Don't leave. I can't let you.
As you discover while playing, Donna uses the pollen of a certain type of flower to make her prey hallucinate, and this brings her army of spiky dolls to life. So really, this is a brilliant little nod to a very cool idea from the past, and ultimately it becomes one of the creepiest and most memorable sections from this entire game. This one is less of an Easter egg and more of a neat little observation, I guess, but this weird teddy bear that you find midway through the game has an odd description when you examine it. A slightly dirty teddy bear. The Duke will probably buy it, it reads. So what happens if you do sell it to the Duke? Well, old Dukey Boots says the following.
And buy it I will.
I'm not aware of anything more significant about this bear's connection to the Resident Evil universe, so if I've missed something and you know more about this bear than I do, let me know in the comments below. But really, all my initial thoughts are at this moment is that maybe the Duke gets a little bit lonely on his travels and he wants a lovely, huggable companion to keep himself company on the road. Aww.
We haven't cashed in on a Resi 7 reference for a while, so let's change things up and spend some time with this next Easter egg. Later on in the game, you're able to explore some side areas located outside of the village, and in one of those areas you'll find this coin. It's called an antique coin, it has a picture of a pelican on both sides, and if you don't recognise it yet, this is one of the antique coins that Ethan collects in Resident Evil 7. In Resi 7, these coins are used to open the locked bird cages that hold upgrades for Ethan's weapons, so I'm really not surprised that he swipes this one as soon as he finds it.
Hey Mia, is that a pelican in Ethan's pocket, or is he just pleased to see us? Ooh.
In one of the very few references to Resident Evil games other than Resi's 4 or 7, our next Easter egg here is a shout out to one of the most ridiculous moments from Resident Evil past, the Chris Redfield boulder punching scene from Resident Evil 5. This Easter egg happens during the Heisenberg boss fight, and due to the cacophony of explosions happening at the time, it can be hard to hear, but if you strain your ears, you can just about make out Heisenberg referring to Chris Redfield as that boulder punching asshole.
Honestly, I think that's the best Easter egg in the game, if not the best Easter egg ever.
The next couple of Easter eggs are pretty big ones in terms of lore, and they appear in what I like to call the Exposition Room. There are similar rooms in other Resi games, but this one is basically just one single room with a bunch of notes to read in it that basically tell you WTF has actually been going on, and in a big twist, one of the notes left behind is from an Oswell E. Spencer. Yes, that's Spencer, the one who helped found Umbrella and the one whose mansion the very first Resident Evil game was set in. The note tells us not only that Spencer was actually Mother Miranda's student, but also that the name Umbrella was inspired by the symbols we've seen dotted around the game world. So every event from all the previous games in the series can now be traced back to this one single moment in this one mouldy little village.
Crikey, that is one hell of an origin story.
On the subject of events from previous games, the note also mentions that Spencer has discovered something called the Progenitor virus in Africa. This should ring all the bells of anyone who has played Resident Evil 5, because that game is not only set in Africa, but it also features the Progenitor virus as a plot device. So, does this note mean that perhaps Resident Evil 9 will be inspired by Resident Evil 5 in the same way that Village is inspired by 4? I'd say either that or maybe a return to the Spencer mansion.
What a mansion!
Well, we're almost at the end of this list now, because this next Easter egg happens right at the end of the game during the epilogue that features Rose, who's all grown up, on her way to visit Ethan's grave. You'll notice, even though it's quite a sunny day, that she's wearing a big jacket. That's because this jacket is the very same one that Chris wrapped her in when Ethan sacrificed his life after the battle with Mother Miranda. You'll also notice that Rose is now wearing Ethan's wedding ring and that she's holding a copy of the storybook that Mia read to her at the beginning of the game.
Huh, and I thought I was a sucker for nostalgia.
Stand by.
Okay, one more quick one and then I'm done. Honest. Have a listen to the music in the Merchant's Room during your visits to the Mercenaries mode, and you should hear something familiar. Yep, it's yet another rendition of the classic Resident Evil save room tune, although this time it seems to be a remix that also includes some of that creepy backwards music that features in the save room sections of Resident Evil 4. And that's your lot. These were all the Easter eggs we spotted during our first playthroughs of the game, but I'm pretty sure there'll be plenty more that we missed. If you've spotted any good ones, let us know in the comments below, and if we get enough, I'll put together a second one of these videos later down the line. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, do give it a like, subscribe for daily videos about video games here on Eurogamer, and if you're in the mood for more Resi Village videos, there should be a few to choose from on screen for you to click right now.
Hey Mia, I don't want to be rude, but you've been staring at that thing for ages now. Are you actually going to serve the dinner anytime soon or what? I'm starving over here. I've not eaten since breakfast. Jeez. And can we put some more music on? This thing's been on repeat for ages. Thanks.